Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Cyan Sun, but you can just call me Cy. And this video is very clearly about Destiny 2 and why I like it. But before I talk about that, I do want to say that this is not a defense for Destiny 2. This is not me trying to say that it's a hidden gem that doesn't deserve the critiques that it gets, because that's not true. A lot of the criticism that it gets is deserved and is most of the time justified. But that is partly why I want to make this video. Half of it is because I do enjoy this game and I do like playing it and I want to talk about why. But the other half is the fact that it's so infuriating at times to see a game that I enjoy being held back. To see that it could be so much more than it is, and the problems that hold it back, and I want to talk about those problems. To speak about the things that bother me and that make it hard for me to enjoy the game sometimes. I have been playing this game for 8 years and have been through both its good times and its bad times. So I've had years to consolidate my thoughts, and this isn't going to be a full analysis or anything. More of a rambling of me speaking about what I love and what I don't love on more of a surface level when it comes to Destiny 2. But with all that out of the way, I want to say thank you for clicking on this video, and I do hope that you enjoy hearing me yell about Destiny 2 and why I love it and what makes me mad about loving it. Ever since I got my hands on Destiny in middle school, these two games have always been enjoyable for me. Between the gunplay, the power fantasy, and the world, there has always been something that I have liked. Do I look at Destiny 1 with rose-tinted glasses a little? Yes, I likely do. However, I do still play Destiny 2 to this day, and while I do play it a little bit less than I used to, for the most part I do still enjoy it. So many aspects about both of the games that I have played fit into what I enjoy in a game. As terrible of a name live service games get nowadays due to the never-ending greed of higher-ups, on the rare chance it's done well, it works for me in how I like to indulge in video games. And that is to say, never really taking my time, getting hooked onto a game and indulging in it for hours upon hours, only to burn myself out on it and come back later. And live service games are perfect for that, because the main thing that could get me back into a game after an extended period of time of not playing it is an update. So it works for me. And as growing up, I've always had the problem of going through a game without really taking the time to do side quests or explore or look at the nooks and crannies of a world to see what it has to offer. I would often go through a game really fast. And on the day that I got Destiny and explained to my mother how the game works, she was likely relieved that she wouldn't have to worry about me getting bored, and was probably happy that she wouldn't have to worry about spending money on another game for at least a little while. But to get into more detail on what I like about Destiny, I enjoy FPSs. It's one of my favorite genres of games in general, and Destiny 1 and 2 have good gunplay. It feels snappy and tight, and because it's a looter shooter, having an emphasis on weapons gives an immediate chase to go after weapons that you like in the game. Whereas games like Final Fantasy XIV, if you get a weapon for the same class that you've been using, nothing changes except for the stats. Now, by no means is that me critiquing the game, it's just me stating the differences between them. I love Final Fantasy XIV, but it's a different game. And while weapons can be very similar in Destiny 2, most weapons have certain things that make them different from one another. From RPMs to perks to even things visually like the scope or the general design. There's usually things that can differentiate them even if there are similarities between them. That's not to say that things can't get redundant. It's been over 10 years, things are bound to get very samey when it comes to the weapon. But I will say, at times Bungie does take the effort to try and do things a little bit differently, and I commend them for that. But things do get redundant at times between weapons, but for the most part they do feel different enough that there's a reason to want one over the other even if they are similar, and it usually comes down to personal preference or things like which is simply better when it comes to their stats. So there's always a reason to go after a specific weapon if you want it for whatever personal reason that you have, even if the process to get that weapon can be painful. I do also enjoy the story and the lore of the game as well. Not to say it's perfect. The writing of the main story and its quests has been through rough times, to put it lightly, and the lore in both Destiny 1 and 2 has also been hit or miss at times, but for the most part I'd say it's enjoyable overall to indulge in both the story and the lore, depending on your preference of both when it comes to sci-fi worlds. And for me, I enjoy both, as sometimes the lore is just so good, or I'm in the mood to read Destiny lore, 1 or 2. I just sit down and read lore tabs in Destiny 2, or I used to read the Grimoire cards in Destiny 1. And I'm curious to see what the next plot point will be for Destiny 2. Now, that's not to say it's still perfect. Again, as I said before, it has been through rough times. The ending of the 10-year saga that Destiny 1 and 2 have been through is over. So, it can be hard at times to get invested into trying to see them reinvent the wheel and bring stakes back into the world of Destiny without just making another universe-changing entity that wants to destroy everything, like the Witness. A very similar problem I feel to Dawntrail in Final Fantasy right now. But I'll take a second to stop talking about why I enjoy the game to talk about the bad. And there's a lot, but I'll just simply speak about what comes to mind, or what's on the script I'm reading off of right now. A good place to start would be to talk about the new player experience. And it's bad. It's not good. There are a lot of things to point at as into why, but I think one of the bigger problems comes from the fact that you can't play the story from beginning to end due to the DCV or the Destiny content vault. So many players who start the game can't properly start the game from beginning to end, and that's not good. Not even speaking about the fact that content in Destiny 2 is just not even in the game that people have paid for, like the Black Armory, for example. Something that people have spent money to play is no longer in the game. Just not being able to play a story from start to finish, making it so that players would have to watch YouTube videos in order to understand the story fully, is very bad and is a very bad look. Making it so that really players can only really enjoy the start is if they endure the beginning on their own, or they have a friend that can help them get through the worst parts of Destiny and guide them on the best ways to enjoy the game. And that's not even speaking about having to pay money to get into the good parts of the game for what's actually still there and hasn't been put into the DCV fully. Like Witch Queen or Beyond Light. Beyond Light isn't great, but you know what I mean. And it's just not a good look, and it's very hard to get people into the game because of that. To rapid fire a few other problems, there's Eververse, and the ever-looming presence that it has always makes it feel like more effort is being put into the cash shop as opposed to the cosmetics that you get for free by just playing the game. The PvP being a shadow of what it used to be, partly due to the DCV in my opinion again, as many maps are just missing from the game. But another part is the fact that bigger updates for the game have just been sparse, far and few compared to how often we used to get them. And it feels like a lot of PvP players haven't gotten the content that PvE players have gotten over the years. And even then, PvE players haven't gotten that much more. So many PvP players have got up and left to find games that it feels like they matter to the devs and the effort that they put into the game. As right now, the Crucible Strike team is doing their best, I believe, but it's just not what Destiny used to be, and it's not what people enjoyed about the PvP in Destiny 1 or the early parts of Destiny 2 when the game started to get good again. The next thing I'm going to complain about is the events in Destiny 2 and to a certain extent 1, but simply put, they're boring excuses to get more money out of their players. They don't do anything new or interesting to take away from the monotonous gameplay that can sometimes plague D2 and its players. There's no real effort made with the events to do something unique, to give different types of gameplay that do something fun, like SRL. Please bring back Sparrow Racing League, please. And all of these things for many players would just simply be too much. Even one of these problems would probably be enough to push someone away, and I don't blame them. A lot of these issues make it hard to enjoy Destiny 2 as someone that has over 1,000 hours in the game. Someone that's been enjoying it, these problems are a lot and are annoying. And for many players, they would take the time to step back and look at other sci-fi looter shooters that they could enjoy, and one of those would likely be Warframe, a free-to-play sci-fi looter shooter that's been around for a while, honestly. As long as Destiny, if not longer, honestly. And many people like that game as it's overall a pretty good game, and they would point to that and just say to play that instead of Destiny 2 for a lot of people that air their concerns and their annoyances and grievances with Destiny 2. And I completely understand where they're coming from when it comes to that suggestion. But for me personally, as someone who has played both Warframe and Destiny, putting 600 hours into Warframe and over 1,000 into Destiny 2, I can say that they are not the same game. Again, I understand why people compare them, but honestly, the First Descendant is more similar to Warframe than Destiny 2 is. Between the way you get characters, the gameplay being a third-person shooter, the cake that's at the bakery down the street, you should go get a slice or two, it's actually pretty good. But anyway, Warframe does do many things better than Destiny 2. Their in-game currency, how they handle updates, and overall monetization. However, they do not play or feel the same, which is why I've put more hours into Destiny 2 instead of Warframe, despite it arguably being worse between the two. I like the gameplay that Destiny offers over Warframe. Warframe is an amazing game and I do still love it, but putting 100 hours into Destiny 2 is a lot easier for me as opposed to Warframe, simply because of the difference between gameplay for me. And that's not to say that I never could enjoy games like Warframe over Destiny, but that's just to say, when it comes to my personal preference between the two, I prefer Destiny 2. And I think that points more towards how personal preference really affects games, especially live service games, especially looter shooter games, as many people have personal opinions, as games that they like can just simply come down to feeling, to things that they enjoy just simply because they enjoy it, not really being able to put in a personal critique or properly analyze their own mind to understand why they like something more than other people, why they like things that are arguably bad, why they like things that shouldn't be liked. And that's how I feel when it comes to Destiny. They're not perfect by any means, and many people look at them with disdain, and sometimes I honestly feel a little embarrassed bringing it up. But I like Destiny 2, and that's why it's so frustrating to see the game go where it has. To see how Bungie has treated Destiny 2 and its players. This game could be so much better. There could be so much in it to enjoy. But due to so many different factors, most of it being the higher-ups of Bungie from what I can tell, Destiny isn't what it could be. And the potential that it has been shattered, and it's annoying. It's frustrating. There could be so many things that they could do to make it better. They could give more clan features like a customizable social space, so that it's more than just having a little title next to your name. Bringing back SRL, please, and adding a bunch of new events or new activities and events that make them unique and special to play. Bringing back all content into the game so that people can actually play everything that Destiny 2 has to offer, and just give people the choice to install certain things so that you don't have to worry about the size of the game being too big for players. Just giving them the options similar to Modern Warfare 2019. I'm not saying that's a perfect fix, but I'm saying that it's arguably better than outright taking content out of the game that people have played for. I endured it because it was at the time for the betterment of the game, so that I could actually install it on my Xbox when that was what I played on, and so that the loading times wouldn't take over a minute. But now, so much content is missing from the game, and it's harder and harder to endure that fact for the greater good. And the problem is that saying all of these things, I don't know if we'll ever get into Destiny 2, especially recently with how things have gotten worse for Destiny 2 and Bungie, with the player count being at an all-time low recently. Many people leaving the game either because the 10-year saga is finished, or because they're done with Bungie and their antics. And I don't blame anyone for any of that. Honestly, I question my sanity with the things that I decide to endure with Destiny 2. But I don't want to see this game die. But sometimes you don't get to control what happens in life, what happens to the things that you love and care for. I know nothing lasts forever, and I want to see Destiny 2 do better. I want to one day be able to talk about it without feeling a little shame, without being a little embarrassed about it. to not see comments on a Destiny 2 video just bash it for the issues that it has. But I'm not gonna hold my breath, because sometimes things die unexpectedly, unwarranted, and all you can do is hope that the time that you spent with it was worth it. I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me rambling about Destiny 2 and the many, many issues that I have with it, but also why I do still like it. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you for getting all the way through my ramblings. I'm not sure if I'm going to make videos like this consistently, or if anyone's even listening to this for it to matter, but yeah, sometimes I have opinions and thoughts and I'd like to talk about them, you know? Not in an analyst way or a very heavy critiquing way, but more in a from my heart kind of way, you know? I don't think I'm gonna do this often. I don't know, I'm still deciding. But thank you for getting to this part of the video. I would be incredibly grateful if you decided to stick around and see what other videos that I have to offer and whatever I try to make in the future. But you clicking on this video and even getting to the end of this video is more than enough for me. So, I hope you have a good day, a good night, and whatever goes on in your life goes right. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you stick around.